Now, have you ever wondered why some people, the moment they speak, they are able to capture attention? People listen to them. While for some people, the moment that they actually speak, people just don't pay attention to them. What are some of the common principles that allows the top speakers to actually thrive? And what is the 6 rules that separates the top 1% compared to the average speakers out there?
Before you want to start deliver your points, right, the most important thing, right, is to learn how to build rapport, is to have the emotional connections first. People buy people first.
So people got to like you first before they buy into your message.
When you tell a story, there's this something that's happening to our brain, right, which scientists actually coin it brain-to-brain coupling, meaning that when an audience is actually listening to your story, they are also forming connection. They are imagining themselves inside the story as well. Hi everyone, before we kick things off, just want to share with you that we are on a mission to reach out to more people so that they are able to turn their mess into message. And we can't do this without your help. So which is why, right, it will mean a lot to us if you can actually help us to like, subscribe, and even share this episode to people who can benefit from this. And this means a lot and it can help us to create more meaningful episodes like this. So thank you in advance, and I'll see you in the episode.
Hello everyone, welcome to the Influence Show where influence meets breakthrough. Now, have you ever wondered why some people, the moment they speak, they are able to capture attention? People listen to them, while for some people, the moment that they actually speak, people just don't pay attention to them. And that is because all these top speakers in the world, they are all able to fulfill certain rules in their speaking skill so that they are able to actually influence the room and to inspire people who listens to them. And this is why in today's session, we are going to talk about what are some of the common principles that allows the top speakers to actually thrive, and what is the 6 rules that separates the top 1% compared to the average speakers out there. And with that, today here with me is actually my partner Wikid on the show.
Yo!
Right, so before we start the show, we would like you guys to actually subscribe to this channel below if you guys are new here so that you are able to gain more value, and every time we actually post a new video, you are able to also learn from these videos as well. So with that being said, I would like to thank all of you guys here in advance, and let's dive right into the show. So today, we are going to talk about the 6 principles that separates the top 1% from the average speaker out there, right? So I think the first principle that I would like to actually ask your point of view on is that if your message can't be summarized in one sentence, right, like it is not ready to share it out. So what is actually your take on this?
Yeah, I think this rule is actually very, very important, right? Because a lot of times when people want to create presentations, right, they go straight into creating the slides, creating the PowerPoints, creating the words, right? They create everything, but they actually forgot the most important thing that gives them the clarity, which is the purpose of this speech. What is the message of this speech? So last time when I was actually in a speech contest, when I was actually joining some of the talks as well, so in the circle, there's actually one of this thing called the hallway test. So what's a hallway test, right, is this. Now imagine right now, right, when people actually listen to your speech or listen to your presentations, they go to the hallway, to the toilet or to the water cooler, right? And then 2 of your audience actually met one another, and then they are talking to each other. Hey, so what was the speech that Wikid actually shared about just now, right? And they should be able to very clearly to articulate one message, one very clear message to each other. And if you're able to do that, then that means that you have hit the objective. And if you're not able to do that, it means that everybody gets different message, and also maybe some people, they don't even see what's the message. They can roughly tell it, right? Then maybe you are not that clear when it comes to your delivery, when it comes to your structure of the speech as well. Yeah. So that's something that I always do. I always ask myself, if my audience actually meet one another, how would they actually describe the speech that they just heard?
I really love that, right? So I also have a principle for myself as well, is that if you can't get a 12-year-old to actually understand what you're trying to say, then probably your message isn't clear enough, right? And I think that especially people who are working in the corporate world, it is very usual for people to use jargons and for them to explain like complex concepts as well. And sometimes it's really, really hard to get all these jargons, right? So I think you have coached a lot of people in speaking. What would be your advice for people to create like simple presentation? Like how would you actually get them to prepare a simple one?
Wow. So I really love the point that you shared, right? 12 years old should be able to understand. So when I coach some of the top leaders, some of the CEOs, right, I ask them, do you have a kid? Then they say, yes, why? Now, if you were to explain this to a kid, how would you explain it? So this is a role play that I will always do with them. Now, explain it to me as if you're explaining to your kid. Then immediately they're able to explain in very simple language. So I think that a lot of times when it comes to presentations, especially people from technical, engineering, accounting, they tend to use a lot of big words, jargons. So I think one of the key things, right, is that try to talk to people who are not in your industry. For example, practice, if you're an engineer, try to present it to your colleague in finance, see if they understand or not, right? And the best training is that if you have a teenager at home, try to present it to your teenager and see if they understand or not, right? And if they don't understand, right, chances are you are using a lot of jargons that only people in your professions understand. Yeah.
All right. So for me, I think I apply this as well, whereby I would simplify my message to one core message. And when I deliver it to different audience, right, one thing that I realized that's really effective is you are able to provide relevant examples that these audience are able to relate to, right? So I think that the key idea here is to summarize everything into one core simple message and then add in relevant examples that like audience are able to relate to, so it becomes very easy to understand.
Yeah, and I think one of the common things people will ask, right, like, okay, I know that summarized into one sentence, right?
Yeah.
What if I have 3 points and 5 points to deliver in this speech?
So to me, I think, yes, you can have 3 to 5 pointers to deliver in a speech, but you really got to ask yourself, what is the one core message that you want to actually share to people, right? And then based on that core message, you design your presentation in a way whereby it actually convinces people on that one core message. Yeah, so see, for us, right, we do a lot of like public speaking class, influence training as well. And one thing we realize is that we have a lot of points to share to people regarding our storytelling, and there's a lot of things that we actually share inside the class, right? But if you notice like the 3 days class or the 4 days class that we actually do, the entire core message is to get people to believe that everyone has a message to share. So once we understand the core principle behind it, then every segment that we put in, we ask ourselves this question: does this satisfy the purpose of this entire training? And if it relates to it, then we actually put that in. But if not, then it's okay to take it out as well.
Beautiful. Yeah. Good.
Right? Okay, now I'd like to go into the second rule of it, right? So the second rule is very, very interesting. Emotion opens the door. Logic helps people justify walking through it. What's your take on this?
Yeah. So I think that this can be very easily seen in the trainings that we do. Not sure about you, but it happens a lot to me, right? So one thing that we need to know, right, when you're doing a presentations, when we are doing a training, people in the audience, they have a lot of things going on in their mind. There's a lot of objections there. Like, why am I up so early in this training? Why do I have to listen to this? And who is this guy to even teach me about this? So there's a lot of objections. So before you want to start to deliver your points, right, I think the most important thing, right, is to learn how to build rapport, is to have the emotional connections first. Because people buy people first. And imagine if you, at the starting, you didn't actually build that rapport, you straight away, you go into the points, right? Then there's no trust.
Yep.
And when there's no trust, whatever that you share, nothing gets in.
Yep.
Yeah. That's why this happened in corporate as well. Sometimes the same idea, maybe person A, when they presented it, rejected. But then person B, presenting the same idea, same thing, exact same formula, but then got accepted.
Yeah.
Why? Because maybe the certain part on rapport and the connection part, we haven't actually spent enough time to speak to the emotion. Yeah.
So people got to like you first before they buy into your message.
Yes.
Right? So how do you actually build rapport and to make people like you?
All right. There's actually many ways on how you can actually build rapport. So I think that the first thing is this. We need to understand that people like people who are like them.
Yep.
Right? So one of the things that I always do is that before I even start to talk about my trainings and everything, right, I will ask for permission. Is it okay that I just take some time to just share a little bit of my story? Yeah. Then I'll share a very brief story of me, how I went from a kid with broken English to become a speaking coach. So when I share that, right, it instantly builds relatability. It's like, oh, wow, this person is also like me. Having broken English, couldn't speak well. Wow, maybe I can actually learn something for this person. So if you want your audience to open up to you, you have to first open up yourself to them. Right? Because imagine if you come to this room, like straight away pitch about how good you are. This is my award, this is my achievement, this is the company that I work with, right? People will be like, wow, okay, I mean, it's good for you, but maybe it's a bit far for me to become like you. So I think that's the first thing that I would do. And also the second thing is also to arrive the venue earlier. This is what I do. I will actually have a conversation with some of the members of the audience to actually know their names and also to know which department that they're working from. So that, right, again, people like people who are like them. When I start my presentations, I will tend to use some of the names.
Yep.
I will use some of the departments. I will use some of their issues. Then they feel like, wow, this person really knows me. Yeah. So that's how I build rapport at the presentations.
Right. So I love how you build rapport before the start of your presentation, where you will actually arrive earlier. You understand them, you understand what they do, you get to know their names as well. So that is basically the pre-work that we actually do as a trainer, or even like before meetings as well. So when it comes to influence and persuasion as well, people always say that people buy into emotion, not just about logic. Right? So during your presentation, right, how do you balance up between giving the right amount of information, yet at the same time, also triggering certain emotion for people to buy into you?
So I think that we need to understand, right, in what creates change. Change only happens when there's actually pain or pleasure.
Yep.
Yeah. So I think that before I even start to present my my training, before I even talk about my training, right, I will start to talk a little bit about the pain that they're currently facing first. Yeah, what are some of the pain points? So for example, when I run a training on presentations, public speaking, speak with impact, I will start by asking them, now how many guys here sometimes you actually feel that you have a lot of things in your mind, but you just can't say it. And as a result of that, you feel not confident about yourself and you are worried about being judged and you are being stuck in your career. So I talk about the pain point first, right? Because when I highlight those pain points, that's when people can relate. Say, yeah, that's me, right? And that's a very nice context about to tell them why they should actually listen to today's presentation. Yeah, so that's for the pain part. After I've taught something, right, I will further build on the emotion, which is on the pleasure. Right? So the first part, we talk about pain, then I give them the solutions. After that, I'll talk about the pleasure. Now imagine this, right? After you have learned this, whenever in a presentations, you're able to apply this, people start seeing you differently and people tend to applaud you and you actually get progress in your career. You're able to provide more for people that you love. So I start to paint a picture about what will happen if they actually have apply the skill that I've just taught them. So combining both pain and pleasure, these two emotions, that's how I can actually create a more transformational change in them. That's why they are being more committed. If not, they will just see it as just another part of a knowledge, a part of information. And then they just walk out of the room and then they don't remember.
So basically, I think that what I really love about your sharing is that you got to implement pain and pleasure into your message, right? Because information delivered without a context are just information, and people don't know what to do with this information. And in fact, I always believe that if your pain is actually strong enough, even though your solution is just average, people still buy into that because the pain is really, really big, right? So that's why I think when it comes to speaking, right, when it talks about pain, most people, they touch just on the surface. But if you are able to actually go deeper into their pain and you actually voice out their pain, then in a way they would be able to think like, hey, this person really understands me deep down the core, right? And when you understand me deep down the core, that's where I actually want to listen to you because I can totally relate to you. So for me, I always believe that the deeper you can go into someone's pain, the better it is as well.
That's right.
Okay, right. So we talk about like pain and pleasure to trigger emotion as well. And just now, you also mentioned something very powerful is that stories, you share a personal story to people, and that is how you also get them to relate to you as well, right? Which leads to my third point here about the third rules that most speakers have who are actually at the top 1%. Stories are not just decoration. They are delivery system for ideas, and they are very good vehicle to deliver your ideas across. Yeah, what's your take on storytelling?
Yeah, I think that storytelling is a really, really important topic nowadays, right? And I think it really distinguishes top speaker and also average speaker. Because if you listen to TED Talks and everyone has a story, right? So you see why telling story is so important, right? Because when you tell a story, there's this something that's happening to our brain, right, which scientists actually coined it called brain-to-brain coupling, meaning that when an audience is actually listening to your story, they are also forming connection. They are imagining themselves inside the story as well. Yeah, I think that one of our past episodes, we actually talk about storytelling. I think that if you have missed that out, you can actually check back that past episode as well. Yeah, so which is why, right, when you learn how to tell stories strategically, it can actually help to build so much rapport. You can also insert message inside as well, right? Because imagine this, right? If I keep on telling you about the story about whatever you tell yourself, it will always be true. So whatever you tell yourself, it will always be true. I keep on hammering on this story, on this message. But imagine if I can use a story to tell you that, right? When I was younger, I kept telling myself that I can't speak well, right? And it happens for so long. And it has always been true for me. So the moment one day, my teacher broke the story for me and tell me that it's not true, that's how I started to speak well. That really changed me, right? And it makes me realize that, wow, whatever that we tell ourselves is always true. So what are you telling yourself? So you see, when I use story, it becomes very inspirational. When I kept on repeating the same message, it becomes like nagging, like repetitive.
Right.
It doesn't go inside.
Right. So story is a subtle way to get your message across, sometimes even without the person realizing it.
Yeah.
Right. And then they form their own conclusion, what to think about the story that you have.
Yes.
All right,
Yeah.
great. Yeah, so then I think that the next question to you is that, because you tell stories like so effortlessly as well, like it's just like you have that story at the back of mind. But for a lot of people out there, they actually tell themselves, hey, what if I don't have a story to tell? Or what if I don't know how to tell it? Or what if my stories are just too boring? And how do I combine it with the information that I have? And all these little voices that people always have, right? So how do you actually deal with that?
And in fact, talking about storyteller, Shui is an amazing storyteller. You can actually, if you attend one of our classes, you listen to the way he tells stories about his journey and everything, right? It's really, really on point. It's something that I really salute you. You are really a masterful storyteller, right? And if people are actually telling themselves, right, I do not have good stories to tell, my life is just so average, it's like I work every day 9 to 6 and then go back home and just repeat that again. So one thing you need to know, right, is this. Every stories, right, it may seem boring to you, but it can be an inspiration to other people. Yeah, because you leave it so effortlessly. It's it's just something that you do, and it becomes your blind spot. But for other people, right, it can be very interesting. Wow, I didn't know that you can actually go through that. Yeah. So one of the things that I do, right, is this. I will always have a notebook with me, and I call it the story bank. I create a story bank and I write down what are some of the titles, what are some of the moments that happen, so that no matter how boring that is, so that in future when I need to run training, I will just open this book up and just tell a story about it. Yeah. Then that's how, and then I tie a message to it as well. Then it becomes something very inspirational.
Right.
Yeah.
So basically, you collected all your story banks, and then every time you want to tell a story, you would just refer to whatever you have.
Yes.
Right. And is there a formula for people to apply when it comes to delivering their stories?
Okay. Yeah. So I think that this formula is, I always pitch about it. It's so simple because it's so simple, right?
Yeah.
It's actually the 3 steps formula framework. It's called what, so what, and now what, right? So what means that the event, the story, what happened, right? So what is actually the lessons, yeah? And then now what is actually the application. How can they actually apply it, right? So if I were to give you an example, right, I think I should give an example, okay? So let's use the example that I've given to you just now. So I will share it with you, then I'll debrief it a bit later. So, when I was younger, I kept on telling myself that I can't speak well without perfect English. Yeah. So you see, I'm someone who is very extroverted, but because of this belief, right, I kept on holding back. Whenever people ask me questions, I would say, I don't know. Because I kept telling myself that I can't speak well without perfect English. Yeah. And this stayed with me all the way until when I was university. Yeah. When I stepped into the class of public speaking. Right. So my teacher actually told me this. Who told you that to speak well, you need to have perfect English? It's not true. You just need better structure. So that shifted my perspective. And after that, right, surprisingly, everything's still the same. The level of English is still the same, but I was able to deliver my speech. So, you see, right, that moment really hit me very hard. Why? Because the reason why I want to share this story with you is this. Whatever that we tell ourselves, it will always be true. Yeah? Now, if you tell yourself that I can't speak well because I don't have good English, it will always be true. If you tell yourself that I can't speak well because I'm an engineer, I have technical background, it will always be true for you.
Hey guys, just a moment. So if you have enjoyed our video so far and you have learned something from the video, you know that we are actually on a mission to inspire more lives and to spread our message to even more people out there. And we can't do this without your help. So we would really appreciate it if you haven't subscribed to our video yet or to our channel. So please click on the subscribe button below and to turn on your notification bell as well so that every time we post a video, you will get the first-hand update to it. And we would really, really appreciate it. So with that being said, thank you in advance and back to the video.
Right? Now, the same goes to you guys as well. What are the stories that you are telling yourself when it comes to speaking, when it comes to working, when it comes to achieving your dream? Because be careful. Whatever story that you tell yourselves, it will always be true. Choose your story intentionally. Okay? So let's pause it there. So that's the what, so what, now what framework. If you recall it, right, the what I shared about my past experience. The so what, I started with the reason why I tell you this story is ending, right? Now what is like the same goes to, and I actually make it applicable for you. The same goes to when you are, what are the stories that you're telling yourself when it comes to speaking, when it comes to working, when it comes to achieving your dream. So it becomes a complete system that even a simple stories can also become a very powerful message.
Right. Yeah. So to recap the entire formula, I think how you put it is really, really elegant. What is basically you tell about the story. And when you tell about the story, you actually get me to see the pictures that you're trying to tell, right? And I'm able to hear the words that you are hearing as well. So I really love how you actually engage the VAK, visual, auditory, kinesthetic, how you feel inside the what. Okay, then so what is where you actually talk about what do you actually learn out from it, right? So I like how you transition it by saying the reason why I'm telling you this is because, right? And that's one of the very powerful sentences because I realize that it might sound simple, but the moment you say the reason why I'm telling you this is because you are getting the audience to listen to you because stories are just information. The what is just the information. But when you tell them the reason, it's got something to do with them. And that's where they start paying attention. And then finally, I think the now what is the application part, right? Is where you actually tell the audience what to actually do about it. All right? Yeah, so I think that this really, really beautiful storytelling framework that I love as well, right? And let's move on to the fourth rule that separates the top speakers from the average, right? The moment you think about yourself, you lose the room. What's your take on this?
Right. And I think I have, this is something very close to my heart as well, because I also came from this challenge as well. Yeah. So what does this message really means, right? Is this when you're speaking on the stage, right? The moment you start to think about yourself, or how do I look? Will people judge me? Do they start to disagree with me? So it's a lot about me, right? That's when you will start to feel more nervous and you start to feel a bit more anxious. Yeah. So I think that's the problem that the moment you start to think about yourself. Yeah. So I think that actually happens to me as well. I think when I first won some of the speech contest title, right? So the moment you have won, right, then people have certain expectations on you. They will expect, right, every time you show up, you better be showing me certain standards. Yeah, because you know, average people walk inside the room, right? They don't have expectations. But if someone is being introduced as a champion and all these things, right? People have expectations. So for that period of time, right, when I walk into a room, right, I actually putting a lot of a focus on myself, a lot of pressure. Wow, will people think that I don't deserve the award? Will people think that later from the speech, I'm actually not as good as I thought? So when I have a lot of all these things happening in my mind, right, when I deliver my message, right, it's not as smooth. It's not great. It's not like, wow, really impactful. So along the journey, I've learned how to shift the focus on from myself to the audience. So it's not about me, it's about the audience. And I'm going to do whatever it takes to get the audience to get inspired. So when I shift my mindset to my audience, right, that's when I started to be okay to share some of my most vulnerable stories. I'm okay to make some stupid jokes to make myself look stupid, right, in order to bring that effect to the students. Yeah, so that's my, if you are having fear of speaking, probably you are thinking too much about yourself.
So I think that every time people always hear that in speaking, for you to overcome your fear, it's not just about focusing on you, but it's about shifting your focus to the audience, right? But I think to a lot of amateur speakers out there who just started off, they will always have this mentality that it's easy for you to say it, right? Like it's easy for you to say not to focus on myself, but how do I actually do it? So if we were to really break this down, right, do you think that there's a formula on how do we shift the focus from focusing on ourselves to focus on the audience so that the fear goes away?
Right. Of course, it's in human nature about, we are always wanting to protect ourselves.
Yep.
Yeah, we want to make ourselves, we don't want to embarrass ourselves.
Yep.
I think this is actually a natural thought. It's very human being. And even in the olden days, if you actually don't get disagreement, right, you are being expelled from the tribe from during the caveman days, then you will not survive. That's why we have this innate fear of not being accepted, not being acknowledged as well. So I think that one of the things, right, is really important for us to know that, ask ourselves, right, what's the worst thing can happen if we screw up these presentations? What's the worst case scenarios? Okay, the worst case scenario is, they don't get it. Second is like, they disagree with me. The third thing is like, they don't, maybe they don't buy this.
Yeah.
So you see, right, the worst case scenarios are this. So that you can actually be rest assured that you won't die.
Yep.
Yeah. Nothing detrimental will happen to your life. Yeah. And then you can also think about what's the best case scenarios. What's the best could happen? Right. The best could happen is actually, if they get it, they will be inspired. They will be impacted.
Yeah.
They will be actually have a new perspective to walk away with. So you see, right, when you actually list down these two things, you would think about it, right? The worst case scenarios, right? Nothing bad is really going to happen.
Yep.
Like nothing too bad. I mean, it can be bad, but it's not like it's a life-threatening thing. But the best case scenario is so much possibilities. Right? So once you actually have that covered, right, then you can actually start to think to yourself, right, how can I make sure that I achieve the best, or I wouldn't say the best case scenarios, like everything in between these two,
Yep.
which is good enough. Yeah. So this is something that once you understand that nothing will be life-threatening for you, then it allows you to have the freedom to try things out. So
Yep.
there's this saying that goes, right, if you allow yourself to fall, you allow yourself to fly. Just like a bird, right? When a bird want to learn how to fly, right, they need to allow themselves to fall first. Then only they start to learn how to fly.
Right.
Yeah.
And I would just like to debunk this concept that Vicky has just shared because it's something that's really profound as well. And what you just mentioned is to learn how to shift your focus on the best part, right? What's the best thing that could actually happen, right? And I think like a lot of people tell us that how do you shift your focus? And what you just mentioned is very, very clear. And I just like to break this down is through the question that you ask yourself, right? Because questions direct focus. And if you notice like people who are fearful, the kind of question that they ask themselves subconsciously are things like, what if I fail? What if people don't agree with me? What if I lose my job? What if I screw things up? What if I am not able to deliver my message across? So that's the subconscious question that we actually ask ourselves, right? But then on the other hand, the top speakers, they actually ask themselves a different set of questions. What's the best could happen to me? What happens if the audience love my message? What is the kind of impact that I'm able to create for the audience? And what if in this talk, I just could change one life? So you notice that by just switching the question that you ask yourself, that's where you are able to also shift your focus as well. So I guess that like based on what you have just mentioned, right, I think that the formula to shift your focus is by shifting the question that we ask ourselves.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, so every single time when you feel that the fear starts creeping in, right, is really learn how to shift the focus. The more you think about what can go wrong, the more nervous you're gonna get. The more you can't focus. So shift the questions. It's like, what do I want? Okay, this is what I don't want. So what do I want instead? Yeah, I think that really help people to set intentions on how should they show up on stage.
Okay, great. All right. And let's move on to rule number 6 that separates top speakers from average, right?
Number 5, right?
Oh, yes, number 5. Okay. So the audience doesn't need more information. They need clarity and direction.
Wow.
What's your take on this?
Okay, that's right. Now, I want to share with you a recent realizations for myself. I think I shared with Shui before, right? So I think that coming from a speaker perspective, I will always think of how can I make my training, my speaking very creative. Yeah, so creative that people is having the wow experience. Yeah, you see, I'm actually kind of like putting the focus on myself already. how to get people to have a wow experience. So I was trying to be very creative in my training. Yeah, so I noticed that, right, the moment when I start to become very creative, right, sometimes the creativity can actually go make things a bit complicated and reduce the clarity, and then there will be people in the class start to get confused, right? So which is why I actually told myself this, okay, I realized this one thing, clarity is more important than creativity. Clarity is the most important thing. Yeah, even if you have to use the simplest language, even if you have to use kids' language, even you have to do role play acting, as long as it has clarity, then you should actually go for it, not anything else, right? So which is why whenever we are actually delivering something as a speaker, right, don't complicate things. Ask yourself, right, what is the core message that they need to understand? What is the mindset shift that they need to have? Then explain it so clear in simple steps that they can actually get that clarity. Yeah, so that's my take.
And I once received this advice before, which really shook my belief of sharing information. And there was this one mentor who actually told me this. The reason why most trainers, most speakers, they tend to overshare is because of the uncertainty that they actually have. They are afraid that they don't add enough value to the audience, and that's why they go overboard and they tend to overshare. Yeah, so for me, I realized that information itself, it doesn't change people's decision. But what changed people's decision is where they see why you are sharing those information and it basically makes sense for them, right? And it applies to, let's just say, even in sales as well, right? Like sharing more information doesn't equal to you having a higher closing rate, right? But then basically sometimes information could confuse people and it drowns people from making the decision itself. What's your take on that?
Yeah. So I think that a lot of people are afraid of pauses, afraid of not talking.
Yeah.
So whenever in a conversation, in a sales conversions, when someone is not talking, then you want to fill in the pause, right? You just keep on talking.
Yeah.
Take one, actually share about more strong points and all these things, right? So I think that how to overcome that, right, is really to be comfortable with silence and also pauses, right? So for example, even when presentations, after you train something, right, just give them some pauses and to just ask any questions. There will be silences. Yep. Maybe some of them still look blurred. So what I've learned is also to just allow them to have the silence and allow them to ask questions before moving on.
Yeah.
Yeah. And also when it comes to one-to-one as well, just actually pause. Yeah. Because if you're feeling awkward of the pause, right, chances are that person was also feeling it as well. Yeah. And let the person to voice out what is the person's feeling. Yeah. So I think that the key, why people tend to overshare is that it's also because we are afraid of pauses. When pause, everything looks scary.
People might think that you forget your script.
Yeah, everything. People would think that, oh, is it because I don't have more to share? Then they just go and share more and more and more. Yeah. Well, I think that you actually did really well. Is also always make it so simple for the audience to understand. Yeah. So that picked up one thing, two things, or three things. That's it.
Okay, that's great, right? Now, moving on to our final one, right? And I think this is a very interesting one. Being memorable requires the courage to be specific. What do you think about this?
Now, this rule, right, reminds me about a book. I forgot who wrote the book, but it's called Your Stand is Your Brand. Right? So that in this book, right, it's actually about, right, if you don't have a stand on something, if you don't stand for something, you basically fall for anything. Right? So meaning that if you do not have your own opinion on things, every single time when you're presenting, when it comes to talking, right, you're giving a very diplomatic and safe answers. Yeah. You are not really there to tell yourself how you disagree with things, how you have a different opinion, then chances are you are very forgettable. Right. So I think that sometimes in corporate as well, we are trying to be very safe. Yeah, we want to become very general. So when people ask you, so what do you think about this? and clearly you disagree with this. But then you say, oh yeah, it's good. I think that overall can do this and all these things. Then you refrain from being very specific what you disagree about this. Yeah, and people just don't see you as unique. People tend to forget you.
Yeah, so I think that like even when you are describing certain things, the more specific that you could actually be, the better it is as well, right? And same goes to I think when we teach storytelling, we always teach people that you got to be specific in stories, right? And I really like how you actually shared one of the stories about how, let's say, your girlfriend actually bought you an LV bag. Right, and I love that scenario because it is a demonstration of how specific you could actually be when you're telling the details of it, right? So for those of you who don't know what the story is all about, so imagine I give you two scenarios. So scenario A is that I still remember it was my birthday, and when I get back home, I realized that my girlfriend actually bought me an LV bag. Okay, that's scenario one. Okay, it's not very specific, right? It's like you are just describing the story, but the second one is basically, I still remember that it was my birthday and it was raining heavily. So as I opened up the door, the room was really, really dark. And I noticed that there was an orange plastic bag that is being held onto the table. And as I walked towards that, suddenly I heard confetti. I heard that the birthday song was being sang. And I realized that it was my birthday and my girlfriend actually bought me an LV bag. Right? So I think that you tell this story a lot of times, but I would like to bring this out because you notice that version 1 and version 2, right? Version 2, I was very specific with the details that I actually shared, right? And because of that, you tend to have that picture inside your head. And the more specific you can be, sometimes the more memorable you also get as well.
Yeah. So I think that you see, we have hit each other's stories so much that we can actually tell each other's stories. By the way, my girlfriend didn't exactly buy me LV bag. It's actually other brands of bags as well. Yeah, but I think it's really important. Specific means that when you tell stories, most people, they touch and go. Yeah. Or when they share, or even in their workplace, when they're asked, hey, share with us, how have you, what is your journey when it comes to doing this project? And they say, oh yeah, so we face this challenge and then we apply this and it worked. Yeah, so you are downplaying it.
Yeah.
So I'm actually hearing a lot of feedback from the corporate, right? They're actually comparing. Asian speakers, Asian corporate leaders, right? They tend to be a bit more humble. They tend to like downplay their achievements. They say, this is actually what happened. Yeah, and then like that lah. Yeah, but then on the contrary, right? On the Western world, the leaders are very good in telling stories. You know, when I actually faced this challenge, I was telling myself that, can we really overcome it? And because of that, we gathered the team, I tell the team that we need to do it. So they're very good in telling the whole stories around their journey. And guess what? Those stories, right, are being better appreciated. People perceive that, wow, you really work really hard to ensure that this happens. Whereas if you just touch and go, right, then people will think that, oh, sounds very simple. No big deal. Yeah.
Because I think to a lot of Asian, they also think to themselves, actually not a big deal, right? So we are being trained in a culture where we don't really recognize our success.
Yeah.
Right? But then when there's a failure, when there's a mistake that we screw up, we tend to make it a really, really big deal.
That could be true as well. Yeah. So I think that also, one thing is also about we don't recognize our success. Second thing is also we don't express as much. We think that when we share our success and all these things like bragging. Yeah, so I think we are being taught to always be humble, let's not brag. But it's not about bragging, but it's really telling your story in a way that it deserves to be told. If this is the struggle that you face, tell it as it is. So that you and also your team get the recognition that they deserve.
All right. Okay. Thank you so much for that, right? So I really love the conversation today because I think that we covered a lot of different rules that separates top speakers from average speakers as well. And I really hope that you guys are able to gain some of these lessons out from it as well. So for those of you who are watching this, I would like to thank you all for your time. I hope that you really learned something from it. And if you haven't subscribed to our channel yet, I would actually highly encourage you to do so because it would mean a lot to us. And every time you subscribe, it gives us confidence to do more episodes like this and to also bring in even more amazing guests to actually support you and to provide even more value to all of you guys here as well. Right? So with that being said, I would like to thank you for this episode here and looking forward to see you in the next episode. And thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye.